Hello, guys. Welcome. AMEL here, greeting you from the comfort of my home. I am so glad to have you here with us today, and lucky for you, we have a special treat. We are going to discuss a very special case study today and share our opinions and thoughts. But before we proceed, let's say hi to the rest of the gang. Hello, Lukman. How are you doing?
Hello, Mel. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Yeah,
Good. So, how's life as a student right now?
same as always. Like lots of assignment submissions are due soon. So crossing my fingers, everything goes well. I hope.
Well, that makes the two of us actually. So, so also joining us is Aini. Hey Aini, how's it going?
Any?
Hi, Amel. Hi, Lukman. I'm doing great. I just want to say thanks for this great platform, and I'm too going through the student dilemma like you guys. And being a full-time working adult is not helping at all. Trust me.
Well, tell me about it. Well, speaking of which, we have an interesting case to talk about today, like I mentioned just now, and it is related to education.
Hmm,
So in
so fun.
2018, the University Center for Human Values and the Center for Information Technology Policy of Princeton University did a study on a fictional case regarding the use of machine learning and predictive analytics in a school setting. So let me give you a summary of this. The principal of Minerva High School, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was under scrutiny for the bad reputation the school has gained for its high number of dropouts, almost 10% in 2012, and only 55% of its students managed to graduate on time, which is more than 20% below the state average. So the principal, named Mr. Vulcani, sought out a consultant, a company called Hifestats, to use artificial intelligence and utilize the data they have collected over the years to improve the school statistics. Bear in mind, this is going with the advice from the local school board. But you know who was not involved in these decisions? The parents, which brought us to our first question. How should decisions to adopt artificial intelligence technologies be made? In this case, it came from the local school board implemented by the principal. So, who are the other relevant stakeholders? Should they have been involved in the decision to utilize safer stats? And to what extent should they be involved? And how does the decision not to include an opt out option affect the legitimacy of the school actions?
Let me start first on this guy. I totally against these decisions that Mr. Vulcani made. In any school environment, you always look after the student best interest. It's period. And these students are minor. Legally, their rights are held accountable by their parents or guardians. By not involving their parents or guardian in the know what is happening at school, I don't think that's right. I don't think any parents wants to be kept in the dark if the stranger has been stalking their kids at school when they are not around to protect them. No. I think it's the same here. Abide it is a consultant that was hired by the school administrations. Let's not forget, nowadays there are lots of criminals that use data to prey on victims. So to not let parents or students or even the faculty body in the decisions making process, I think it's not right.
So I totally agree with you, Aini. Because I think the most important aspect of data collecting ethics is to include an option to opt out. How many of us have unclicked the box whenever we are asked whether we like to receive marketing emails on websites? I think it is ethical thing to do, right? So the better
Yeah.
question that needs to be asked here is how the data is being used or manipulated by the consultant, and how will it affect not just the students but the teacher as well. So it is like a dystopian fiction if you guys hear where there is a dark overlord who see all people he controls be in the dark, when he is the only one who knows whether there are zombies or a room full of food behind the door. Seriously, no one likes the dark overlord in.
You brought up a good point, Lokman. To include an opt-out option to the people involved. However, don't you think that will decrease the quality of data that can be used for analytics and machine learning?
Yeah, of course, definitely. The data will definitely not be as raw as we want with some exclusions, but I always believe we should not compromise being human in pursuit of technology.
Interesting words. Well, going back to the case, Mr. Vulcani decided in his capacity as principal to proceed with the partnership. So Hifostats, the consultant, now has access to the school data that has been accumulated over the years, which includes demographics details, how well were the students performing, what were they reading, what were they eating. Even the faculty's data was shared, the teacher certification, their classes statistics, and so on. Did the school violate the privacy of its students by sharing their data with Hifostats? If so, is this breach justifiable and on what grounds? Would you feel differently if you were the parents of either an at-risk student versus the parent of a valedictorian?
Oh, I would say so. It's just not right. Mr. Bucani is basically taking the rights away from the parents and the students, like I said at my first point. He should ask in first
But
before he doing all that things.
But AINI, we're talking about years of data here, and it is all pseudonymized. Basically, these data were real and correct data, but not tied to a specific person during the analysis phase.
Here's what I think. Let me describe you. A male in his 30s, a bit on a heavy side with a mustache and beards. Let us look, mine. Can you
Yes,
see on screen anyone that looks like what I just described?
yes, of course.
That is exactly my point. Even without saying your name, Amel, Lokman can still identify you. An identifier can be a lot of things, not just a name. So, whether the names are removed or hidden, it is still a breach if you can identify a person through the other identifiers.
I can see where you are coming from. What about you, Lokman?
Honestly, I would feel violated because if I was a student of Minerva, I would
Minerva.
Minerva.
I would feel like a lab rat constantly being monitored. I don't need anyone to know that I had too many snacks during lunch break, or I was penalized for dozing off during history class. And I think this would weigh heavier with at-risk students. At this point, these at-risk students, which are minors, may feel embarrassed to have their bad conduct become a public record. And let's say, in worst outcome, they got involved with juveniles. This data,
Juvenile.
juveniles, sorry, my bad. This data can all of a sudden can be used for criminal background check. There is no guarantee, honestly.
I feel the valedictorians will have a harder time to stand out from the crowd. On a larger scale, better statistics definitely improve the school reputations. But that also means tougher competitions.
Okay. So now the consultant carry out the machine learning and predictive analytics algorithms, and they managed to improve the statistics. All the numbers are now in the green, which is positive, with nearly all students obtain their high school diploma. Now, Mr. Vulcani decided that the school will continue on using these data and algorithms to maintain the system's accuracy. I will be so happy if I am the consultant actually, because that's mean an business into the future. But that's not the point here. How might we define a successful outcome outcome for Minerva High School? What was the school hoping to optimize by contracting the consultant? And to what extent is this legitimate? In order to achieve this end, did Hefestats ask the right question and use the right proxies?
Yeah, okay, Mel. I think the improvements were great. Kids were graduating, fewer dropouts, and more of them managed to get into college. But how much of this is really considered a success? Are we just going to look at numbers? What about we consider what did the student learn, and do they have the ability to use in for their future? The consultant definitely knows what they are doing because the algorithms help to pinpoint the issues and provide solutions. But I do not agree with the school decision to run the simulation into the foreseeable future. By now, I think they should know what are the issues with the students specifically in their district and locality. Unless the education system is going to be changed at the national level, I don't think it is necessary to keep obtaining data and run it on these algorithms when they already know which areas they need to put the focus on. It is a waste of time and resources, and not to mention, they still violate the privacy of the student.
See, Lukman, I agree with your opinion that you have just said before. Education is so much bigger than just number on records. We want aspiring thinkers, not just robot-minded android who took exam just to graduate. Yes, the statistic helps, but once we know how the wheels work, we would attach it to a vehicle instead of roll it freely down the hills. They obligated to check on the sensitivity issue of the data before they agreed to come into partnership with Minerva High School. If they say that Mr. Vulkani is the proxy for the data of the school, they need to ensure that the data were collected ethically.
Okay, so now graduation statistic did indeed improve after Hifestat came on the scene, but correlation doesn't necessarily imply causation. What
Mhm.
are some alternative explanations for the improvement in dropout rates? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the first one is the analysis shows that there were underlying issues with the schools. Students tend to take upon exhausting subject combination which led them to have unmanageable schedules. So number two, the at-risk students have responsibilities with their part-time jobs as well as helping out their parents at home. With this knowledge, the school took action by assisting the student with their schedule, how to create a more manageable schedule, advising them on a better subject combination so that they would not feel burned out. This initiative allows students to be more focused on their studies and help them to not feel left out.
By realizing this issue, teachers know what is the best method to tackle certain issue. Targeted approach like this helps students to feel their interests are well taken care of. This improves the relationship between the teachers and students. In fact, I love the fact that the school realized that students were having unhealthy snack at schools and decided to remove them from the lunch menu. That's good. But I do have a question though. What is your thought on the teachers were asked to put more attention to at-risk students instead of high achievers? Anyone?
I think it's a catch 22, to be honest. On
Mhm.
one hand, I want all students to feel that education is important and no one should be left behind. But the alternative is at risk students need a bit more push than the ones that already adapted to how things work. So, if anything, it is actually situational. And given the school's situation, I think it was a great move. But
Mhm.
this may change in the future when more students become adapted and create more even playing field. Thanks for that question, Aini. It's nice being asked a question once in a while.
I was trying to catch you off guard, Amir, but you did well.
Okay, good one, good one. So, Mr. Vulcani praised the work that Hephaestus has done and the artificial intelligence behind it. We know AI is relatively new, but somewhat familiar to the ears. So, the rhetorical decision to call a technology AI imbues it with a certain mystique. But quantitative and statistical methods, such as those used in many AI systems, including the consultant, inherently involve generalization. So while there is value in using statistics to understand social problems and make prediction, the methodologies may not be useful on an individual basis. So what do you think is the danger of calling a system that deals in particulars AI? What are the advantages? Is it just mere wordplay or are there substantial differences?
Um, there are substance behind it though. AI is an evolving area of studies indefinitely. So we don't really know to what extent AI going to evolve to or how fast of rate will it need to understand everything that is there to learn about. As professionals in AI, we know the branches of studies that are parts and parcel of AI, but this may be foreign to non-members or non-learners. To familiarize the public with these studies, there is no harm of generalizing them. The multiple branches of AI intertwine with each other, and every single one of them bring advantage and limitations with every single data they analyze. This is where it can confuse the general mass. Do I think the consultant intentionally mislead the stakeholders? No, I don't think so. I think they handle the outcome professionally.
Yes, I do not think there were malicious intention in this scenario. AI is beautiful. AI is helpful. AI help us discover an uncharted world of potentials. But one thing AI has not perfect yet is being human. This is what we call EQ. Robots nowadays learn how to feel, show empathy, and read emotions. Scientists put in billions and billions of data for this purpose. But if given the chance of share your worries with another person, most of us would still choose another human being rather than robots. So until AI is perfect, and I think it is hard fit to achieve, AI will always be tied to be robotic.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate here. So, do you think there is any party at wrong here? If so, who is it?
It would say Mr. Volcani approach to keep the algorithms running is wrong, even after they manage to pinpoint the issue. And his decisions do not involve the parent and teachers in the decision making is also questionable.
Again, Lokman, I agree with your point.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ani.
But I also think that the consultant is not totally clear of it. They are obligated to run checks on the data whether it is obtained ethically or not. It is the responsible things to do when running a business, for my opinion.
I see. All right. Good job, guys. That is all
Thank
the
you.
time that we have today. It has been an interesting discussion, an insightful one. And I would like to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts and opinions. Well, guys, until next time, see you.
All right,
See ya!
bye. Thank you
Bye.
guys. Bye bye.